So this is a somewhat spoiler heavy review. Just quick thoughts on Halloween Ends.
It's Halloween. We're gonna have a good time tonight.
The boogeyman is coming.
To start, obviously in my previous video, I talked about Halloween 1978. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just a masterpiece. The rest of the movies range from good to fun to horrible to just mixed bags, and I will also include Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills in that, although those have grown on me over time, and I think that is strictly because of Michael's portrayal by James Jude Courtney. I just recently rewatched Halloween Kills. It's fun. I mean, the moments with Michael are awesome. You know, if you're in it for just horror, kills, whatever, that's fine. Halloween 2018 is good. It's okay. Some things didn't work for me. A lot of it didn't work for me. I mean, the aspect of Laurie Strode being this like badass woman who's ready to take on anything, a one-woman army for facing trauma that was really, 40 years ago, and horrifying enough, her 3 friends were killed, but to jump to this lady now, 2018, who's just like a Rambo type character, it was a little far-fetched for me. The writing was okay. Halloween Kills, the writing was okay. You had that typical Danny McBride joke touch in there, which really didn't work for a Halloween movie. And before I go into Halloween Ends, and I'll touch on this in that film, I always thought David Gordon Green was just an okay director. Definitely not a horror director, and I don't know why he's getting the reins for The Exorcist, which really doesn't need to be remade anyways, because that movie's on a level of its own. He has good shot selections. He gets a good team around him. The cinematography is really well done. And like I said, his shots are pretty good, but I think it falls flat after that. There was never any moment in these 3 films where I was scared, where I thought, whoa, that was an awesome sequence that they did right there. It was, a mix of handheld, moving shots on sliders and steady cam, and it worked, But again, I think there's directors and then there's directors. And I think a lot of directors just come up with good shots, and I may be guilty of this, and I'm not even saying I'm a good director, but I've made films, so I can attest to choosing a shot over a story choice, and I think that happened a lot in these films. And that's not to knock him. I'm knocking him, but I'm also saying it's very hard to do what he did. It's hard to make a movie, so I give them credit for completing a trilogy that they set out to do. That being said, this shouldn't have been 3 movies. This probably should have been 2 movies, maybe just 1. And the writing choice and the story choices for Halloween's Ends was just bizarre. Now, as a standalone film, it might have worked. It kind of felt like a Stephen King movie. It felt a little bit like Christine, the character of Corey Cunningham, the nerd who's bullied and needs to get revenge, who has a dark side to him, who has evil taking over. I guess that's interesting. Not really unique, not really original. But they tried to make something original in this trilogy and in the Halloween franchise alone. You can see that in the beginning credits, very similar to Halloween 3's opening credits, especially when it comes to the font. But it's just bizarre. This movie felt shoehorned. I feel like they didn't know what they were doing. And it feels like they were writing these movies as they went along rather than an overarching 3-act, 3-trilogy, 3-act story. The fact that Michael's only in this for 10 minutes is very underwhelming. I mean, you decide. I said to my friend before this movie came out, I said they should do a time jump and make Michael disappear, and you have no idea where he is. Now, in doing that, and they did do that. They had a 4-year time jump. Now, in doing that 4-year time jump, you are automatically creating an atmosphere of tension because Michael's gone. He's not in an insane asylum locked up. He didn't escape. We don't know he's on his way. We just simply don't know where he is. And now the possibilities for that are endless. Now, there are arguments that would say, well, we've seen that before. He's going to stalk and kill people. Yes, it's a Halloween movie. I mean, we're how many movies into this at this point? How many ideas can you really have? So, for Michael to be gone and then to just randomly be rotting away like an old man in a sword just felt completely out of place and it was almost like a drama. I mean, I don't know. It didn't feel like a horror movie. It certainly didn't feel like a Halloween movie, and I guess that's what they were going for, and I give them credit for trying something different, but it was a little too different, and it was a little underwhelming, and definitely subverted people's expectations, because this is one divisive film. What else? Corey Cunningham, like I said, interesting character, kind of like Arnie Cunningham from Christine, but his character wound up being pointless. Jamie Lee Curtis did a knockout job. She always does. So it's interesting because the Laurie we got in Halloween's Ends would make sense for the Laurie we got in 2018, and the Laurie we got in 2018 and in Halloween Kills should have been the Laurie in Halloween Ends. And what I'm saying is the trauma gap. So in 2018, 40 years since her experience with Michael Myers, she's Rambo. But after her daughter and half the town gets killed, now she's ready to move on 4 years later. It just didn't make sense. And the other thing that didn't make sense was in Halloween Kills, for all its faults, they're setting up this persona of evil that every time Michael kills, he transcends, he's becoming more powerful. I mean, he's shot, he's stabbed, he's practically burned alive. It goes on and on and on, and he just keeps moving forward like a machine. But 4 years later, now he's rotting away in the sewer like an old man and gets beat up by a kid. It's just infuriating. I mean, if you're going to be consistent, be consistent. Please fill in the loopholes in the writing. Don't just think we're stupid. And this is the problem. Movies are rushed out. The directors think they're better than they are. The writers think they're better than they are. And they just push stuff out left and right. And they think our audiences are dumb. And they're not dumb. And obviously the divisiveness of this movie shows that. And I really think the people that like this movie are just trying to grasp at something. I mean, it's okay. As a standalone, it's okay, I guess, but it just doesn't work. And then at the end, have Michael just chopped up in a meat grinder, the procession on the car, Laurie getting her revenge, just kind of underwhelming. You know, if they were going with the whole every time he kills, he transcends, I would have seen this as an opportunity for Michael to be ushered in completely into the supernatural. You know, have a scene where they think they've killed him. I mean, this is done a million times. What I'm saying is, if you're going to keep this franchise going, and I'm sure they are, not necessarily under David Gordon Green or Blumhouse, as it goes back to the original producer, but if you plan on keeping this going, why not transcend it into the supernatural, where Michael does become this legend of Halloween, where he could show up, he could manifest, and he's just this everlasting mystery. Because then you can have fun Halloween films without expectations of being a masterpiece or expectations of having a true resolution. You could really build it around other characters, or finish it, you know? Finish it where he just does disappear, or have him reach up and drag Laurie into the meat grinder. It just felt a little too, I don't know, serious. They took it a little too serious. They were trying to be, I don't know, tell something about it. It was a mess to me. This movie was, it wasn't necessary, and I'm happy it's over, and I probably won't watch it again. John Carpenter's score is amazing. Halloween Kills had an amazing score. Halloween 2018 had an amazing score, and to see James Jude Courtney completely underutilized in this movie was just heartbreaking. I mean, like I said, I appreciate them trying to do something different, but at the end of the day, it's too far of a leap. And you're, to me, really out of touch with what the fans want. And what I'm saying is, you shouldn't go into a movie making it for fans. But if you have a certain cultural icon or cultural property that you're playing with, there are boundaries and there are certain things you need to respect. And I just feel like this movie fell short of a lot of that. It should have been two movies. I mean, you could have combined what they were doing in this movie with Halloween Kills and made it that film. I had seen Cody Leach's, he doesn't even know who I am, but I've seen Cody Leach's video on this, and he says something very similar. And I think this is what's going to divide the fans, and it may, over time, have a rewatchability, but I doubt it. Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills are definitely rewatchable for me around this time of year. They're not great films by any means. Their strong points are John Carpenter's score, some of the cinematography, Jamie Lee Curtis, and James Jude Courtney. And in this film, you really don't get a lot of that. You do get John Carpenter's score, and you do get Jamie Lee Curtis, but other than that, it's kind of just forgettable.
Come and get me, motherfucker.
Bye.